Hi, I'm Lynn Langett, co-founder of TeachingKidsProgramming. Congratulations, you just finished the houses recipe. You learned a whole lot doing the recipe, and I want to make sure that you understand everything. So let's take a minute to go over it together. Let's start in the recipe code on line 13. What is the number at the end of the line? Can you notice it? You might be wondering why the number has 0.1. The reason it has a 0.1 is that although we strive for one line of translation for one line of English, you can't always do that. Sometimes you just need multiple lines of code, but you still want to be able to run after each single line. So when you're in a situation where you need multiple lines to translate, you should use a technique called fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it allows you to get feedback from every single line, one at a time, even though it's going to take a couple of lines until the translation is complete. So that 1.1 line number indicates that there's going to be a 0.2 or possibly even a 0.3 or even a 0.4 before the full translation is complete. The first part of fake it till you make it is the fake it part. And for that part, you need a number. It can be any number, but I prefer to pick crazy attention-grabbing numbers that are either wildly big or extremely small. So it's obvious what their effect is, and it will remind me that it's a temporary fake number. In this case, I'm going to pick 500. Now I'll run it so I can see that it works. It does. Normally, I would just delete the English now, but I'm in the middle of a fake, so I can't delete the line just yet. To get to that point, I need to go to the second part, the make it. To do this, I need to refactor the code. Remember, there are many different ways to solve the same problem. Refactoring means using code that's different but will produce the same result. There are a whole bunch of different refactorings you can pick in Eclipse. I'm going to choose for this one, the one called Extract Local Variable. You probably remember this because you used it already in the variation for simple square. To complete this refactoring, Eclipse needs a name for the variable. And of course here, the value 500 represents the height of the house. So Eclipse extracts that as the height. But I'm not done yet. I still need to figure out where does this line declaring the height variable belong. Or another way of asking that is, which line of English is translated to this line of code? And what that means is that right here I'm translating line 11. The current height is 40. Notice the line 1.2. So I'm going to move the line up using the keyboard shortcut Alt up. Although this is very close to finished, I still have the exaggerated fake value, so I'll adjust this to the intended value of 40. That's completing the make it part of the fake it till you make it. I'll run this and I'll see that it works. Great. And the fact that the value has changed to 40, everybody can see. So I'll take a minute here to look at the line that Eclipse generated. You could just use this without really understanding it, but I think it's helpful to learn a little bit more about it. So let's look at it. Variables. The English reads, the current height is 40. And we've translated that to int height equals 40. So the word height, which is the name of the variable, is being placed on the left, like an X in math. And the word is being translated to an equal sign, like regular math. Finally, the 40 stays a 40, and the period becomes a semicolon. It's worth noting that this is called an assignment equals, meaning regardless of past value, height is now equal to 40. So let's look at that word int. Java requires variables to say what type they are. Types could be text, color, number, or a whole lot of other things. In this case, I'm using the word int to show that height is a whole number. Now I've translated both lines and completed the fake. This is the make it part. So now I can just get rid of both lines of English. I can delete them. What I'm about to do next is very similar to what you did in Simple Square, so I'm going to go over it really quickly, so pay attention. Notice two things that I do over and over. First, I'm running every line of code to see that it works before I delete the English. This allows me to confirm I'm not making any mistakes and keeps things nice and simple in case I do make one. Second, I'm using my tools and autocomplete, both typing the first few letters so that I can filter my options in the list, but I'm never typing the full word. I'm letting Eclipse do the work for me. Okay, let's go. This line you might be tempted to translate move the height to move 40, since the height is currently 40. But that's not the English. It's not saying 40, it's saying height of the house. And that is going to translate just to the variable height, which you can see as an option in your autocomplete. That's not right. I'm supposed to be making a box, and the tortoise is pointing at an angle instead of straight down. Let me go back and reread the English. I'm supposed to be moving the tortoise, not turning it. That's an easy fix, and one of the reasons I don't delete the English until I've run it and confirmed that it works correctly. Next it says, turn 90 degrees to the left. For me, it's easier to translate 90 than left, which is why I'm adding the negative sign afterward. This varies from person to person, but remember that code is evolving, so start with what's easiest to do. This technique is really helpful if you're stuck. Many times, if you translate the easy 80%, the remaining 20% is no longer difficult to translate. Now I'm at the second new concept in the recipe, sub-recipes or methods. In fact, to do this step, you have to translate 3 lines at once. I'm going to do this again using a refactoring, so the tool is going to do the work for me. To do this, select the lines of code, right-click, Refactor, and I'm going to use a new refactoring. It's called Extract Method. The Extract Method refactoring also asks for a method name. It will also pull out the parameters or variables needed for the method, which Eclipse detects automatically. After the refactoring, I'll run the code again to double check that it still does the same thing. You'll notice line 12 is the place where draw house is called, which invokes the code down on line 18, and because I've extracted this method, I can call it from other places than just line 12. For example, I can call this method again now that I want to redraw the house with a height of 120. Using a method in this way is the very essence of programming. We've created a method like the tortoise.move method. In fact, you can think of this as the houses.drawHouse passing in height method, and you can call it that, but as long as you're in the houses object, the subject of the sentence is implied. House, houses. So Java doesn't require you to type it. This is really important. It's what good programmers do. We build our own custom blocks to make building a program easier not only for us, but other programmers too. Anything you've already done once, you can pull out so you don't have to repeat yourself again and again. This makes it easier to program and encourage the most important aspect of successful programmers. You know it, being lazy. In fact, everything you're using, including tortoise and colors and every other piece of code that currently exists, is stuff some other programmer did a couple times before you and just pulled out as a method or a class so that you could easily reuse it again and again. So now I'll draw another house with a height of 90. And one more with a height of 20. To recenter the houses, I need to change where the tortoise starts drawing. Do you remember if change means you're going to use a setter or a getter? That's right, a setter. To change, I'm going to use a setter, in this case, set x. And just one last line to make the line light gray. Notice the camel case of small s, big P, big C. Also notice I am auto-completing all 3 words of colors, grays, and light gray. And now I've completed the recipe, and I only had to call the draw houses method 4 times instead of having to rewrite all the code inside over and over again. Let's take a look into the method of draw house one more time, as this is very new to everyone, and it's probably a little bit complicated for you. The line I translated was recipe for draw house, and it's getting translated into public static void draw house with the parentheses, then int height, parentheses, curly brace, and curly brace. Now that's quite a lot of translation. Some of it's straightforward. Draw house is the name of the method. Remember that method names are like verbs. The end of the recipe is the end of the curly braces. The int height means that to run this method, I would need the extra information of the height of the house, which is an integer whole number. But how is the word recipe getting translated? Well, it's getting translated to a lot of parts. First, the public static void, which is Java for this is a recipe that does something. Next, you're going to see those parentheses. Sometimes it has a lot of stuff in between. Sometimes it has nothing. But all method declarations have the parentheses. Finally, there's the opening curly brace, which says everything in between it, and the closing curly brace is the stuff the subrecipe does. This is also referred to as the method body. So now we call the finished houses recipe, and you can see the real power in being able to call the method over and over again, each time passing in different variables. As we continue learning how to program, we're going to spend a lot of time learning how we can build parts that are going to allow us to build the final program even faster.